She says, what players can we trust for next week after bad fantasy days in week 15? She mentioned Tyrone Tracy, Alvin Kamara, Cooper Kupp. Going to skip Kamara right now because he's got the groin injury. And quite frankly, like, he was having such a miserable game other than a catch on a trick play that I don't really trust him. So, I'm going to get the schedule up. Sorry, I forgot his matchup too. He's got the Packers on Monday night. Anyway, who are we going back to that struggled in week 15, guys?
I would love to go back to Tracy. I've been really curious to hear you guys' thoughts on this. Why did Singletary get the goal line look?
I wouldn't go back to Tracy. So Singletary not only got the goal line look, he got the second time they went to the red zone, he got the goal line series there as well. I think part of it is just the fact that Tracy has had his fumbles this year, and Dable trusts Singletary inside the red zone from a ball protection standpoint.
So I was watching the game with some people, and I kind of missed it. I was, with some colleagues, not like friends. And someone had said that they thought that Tracy had dropped a pass and basically got temporarily benched and scolded for it. And that was when Singletary went in. Did that happen?
He did drop a pass, but the touchdown was before that, I think.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know why that happened. I would be okay with Tyrone Tracy. Dan and I lost David Montgomery. So I lost Kamara in a league. I would have to consider Tracy over someone like Ramondre Stevenson, who's just really seems to be pretty capped and somehow scores. They have the Bills. They're going to get blown out. I don't want to trust him in a bad game script. So I think Tracy against the Falcons could be okay. Let's call him somewhere between RB 24 and 30. I'm going to guess he'll be in the rankings. Cooper Kupp, I'm definitely going back to. Bad game for Stafford. Kupp is hard to sit. I would start him over Malik Neighbors even against the Falcons. I don't know how you guys feel about that. Falcons are an amazing matchup, but I would just trust Kupp, who's had more good games lately, at the Jets, who are not a matchup that scare me at all.
Yeah, that's fair. Jawan Jennings is somebody I would bring up. He had his second worst game of the whole year, even when he was playing a limited role. So I don't worry about that. All the underlying stuff looks good still.
Bad weather in that first half too.
Good question is Purdy, right? Because I'm going to have to choose between Purdy and Knicks. Purdy getting the Dolphins on the road. Knicks Thursday against the Chargers. I feel like I'm a bit of an apologist, no question, for the 49ers. But how good were they 2 weeks ago against the Bears, right? Invincible. And then they had this first half in the rain against the Rams, which is terrible. Second half, I can't really give you a good excuse. The offensive line's obviously struggling. It's beat up. Right now, if I had to pick, I'd probably go Brock Purdy over Bo Nix. But I just feel like the 49ers can bounce back. I think Garendo can be, Dolphins' run defense is legit. But I think the Niners can really bounce back next week. Anyone feeling that?
I'm not really feeling that, no.
Yeah. I'm a Niners apologist. Maybe I'm going too far because the offensive line injuries are a big deal. See, the Dolphins are favored in this game, early line, but 1.5 points hosting the.
I will say this: you had to take earlier that the Seven Nation Army riff is base, and I was kind of in my head is that really base? I don't kind of think it is, and I don't think it is. And now finally, someone in the chat was like, "Seven Nation Army is guitar." So,
okay,
just a random bad take by you. That
I don't really like that song at all. Actually, they hate that song.
Who hates that song?
Me. I hate that song.
Oh, you hate that song. Okay, now that you were wrong about it, you hate that song.
I do.
To be fair, it was just one person in the chat. My old roommate used to play that on bass. I don't know.
Oh wow, maybe I'm doubling.
I'm gonna look up a YouTube video. Let's see if I can find this. All right, who else are you guys turning back to in week 16 after a bad week 15?
Like must start guys. I don't know, Jacob. You got anyone? Who? Stafford?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think you can go back to him. What about Kupp?
Yeah, I already said Kupp.
Oh.
How about Marvin Harrison Jr.?
There's some signs.
I'm so sick of it.
I'm sick of Harrison Jr. We're all sick of Harrison Jr. I'm sick of Kyler Murray, who was in 4 of my fantasy matches, supposed to help me win. Did horrible, but there are some signs of them getting a little bit of the timing down better on those out routes, those outbreaking routes. But no, I don't think we're there yet. I think
Chuba Hubbard.
Chuba's a good one.
Brian Robinson.
It appears that Brian Robinson, I don't know. I mean, against the Eagles, Not that the Eagles' run defense is so good, but they might be throwing more than we expect. It appears to be a guitar, not a bass guitar. So I apologize for that horrible take. Okay, one thing I wanted to bring up about Marvin Harrison Jr. is one, he has a great matchup against Carolina next week on the road. Carolina gets destroyed by number one receivers regularly, but also Christian Gonzalez really just owned Marvin Harrison Jr. First pass attempt of the game, he beat Gonzalez just kind of cutting across the middle, over the middle, and got a 23-yard gain out of it. But after that, Gonzalez, whenever he was on him, played him really well, including knocking a ball away from him in the end zone, 2 end zone targets. So that's troubling, like that Gonzalez really got the better of him just from a long-term standpoint. But he has 6 end zone targets in his last 3 games. He has at least 1 red zone target in 5 straight games. That gives me faith in Harrison as like a high upside number 3 receiver. Not to say he's a must start, but I think he's got some upside because they're trying to get him in the end zone. All right, next question is sort of related. It's from Texas Bruin 67. He says, can Kyler Murray and Justin Herbert be trusted in the fantasy playoffs? So Murray this week is at Carolina, and Justin Herbert gets Denver on Thursday without Patrick Surtain. He already faced them without Surtain, although the first time Riley Moss was healthy, and he scored 15.7 fantasy points. But do you guys trust Kyler or Herbert this upcoming week?
No, I don't.
Yeah, I don't trust it, but I would probably go back to Kyler again.
Ugh.
I know, but there is just a ton of upside.
I thought that about this matchup this week.
Well, Connor had 2 rushing touchdowns,
right,
including one from the goal line. They try to get. So how many points? He only scored 9.1. So really, there's no excuse. Like even if he had scored one of those touchdowns instead of Kyler Murray, it still would have been a bad game. But Kyler's not running that much, and this is the issue with both of these guys. Herbert is obviously playing hurt and can't really run. So I don't really want to start him. I think that pass rush is going to be all over him. I don't trust him at all. And Kyler, I think he's not the worst. I feel like he's going to end up being a top 15 quarterback this week in the rankings.
I would go Kyler over Herbert. I think the issue with Herbert is what you mentioned, not only just the injury, just like you see that Chargers defense taking a step back, and you would think that's a good thing from a script standpoint. But part of why the Chargers have been able to be efficient through the air is off of play action and off of the game script they've had. So I actually don't think it's a good thing. I don't think that offense is set up for them to play from behind.
So somebody said Anthony Richardson against Tennessee or Justin Herbert against the Broncos.
I'm worried about Anthony Richardson, man. Things really fell apart after that play with Jonathan Taylor.
Yeah.
It was like the momentum was just completely sucked out of them, and they couldn't do anything after that. And I don't know, when he gets rolling downhill, it gets out of control fast.
Yeah.
Yeah. And but he's so.
I think I'd go with Richardson over Herbert. There's just
I would too.
such which is bad, but it's like there's like Herbert's path to points at this point now that he's hurt and he's going to get you a 0 from rushing standpoint is all just passing touchdowns. At least Richardson can, then that's 4 points. I'm talking 4-point passing TD league. So like Richardson can get you that back rushing, I think, in a game, like at least that 1 touchdown passing.
Someone says, why is Justin Herbert? No, that's not it. Why is Justin Herbert such a bum? Sad face.
He's not a bum.
Nah, he made some really great throws in this game.
Yeah.
But then he had a horrible interception when he was under pressure. And I think that just goes back to him not being able to get away from pressure. Which is
he's hurt. He's really hurt playing.
Yeah. All right. Third big topic is about the Dolphins. They are popular on this show. And it's from Fat Miami 1. He says, I want to hear about how much Tua stinks and how Coach Mike needs to go. And
these topics are not fun. We could have just talked about Brian Thomas Jr. the whole podcast.
It is an interesting topic if we think they might fire Mike McDaniel.
Yeah.
And I don't think there's any sign of them firing Mike McDaniel.
And they really can't beat a good team. They cannot beat a good team. It's year after year.
We all watched this game this morning on tape because we knew we were going to talk about this one. This offense is so out of sync right now. I think a lot of Tua's, I guess, shortcomings as a quarterback have been exposed during this run.
But he's been on fire. That's the thing. He was like the number 1 quarterback or number 2 quarterback
for fantasy
in his previous 4 games. He's playing great.
I wouldn't describe what I've seen as playing great, but
I think just playing safe.
I mean, it was working to an extent from a fantasy standpoint, and they're moving the ball, but it's not what we saw when they were just that offense clicking with Mike McDaniel. I think he needs to retool it this offseason. They need to make investments on the offensive line.
Well, they need to throw the ball downfield. This is ridiculous. The stat that really okay. I read the Miami Herald recap of this game, and it was basically saying Tua was under pressure the whole time. He's got 2 backup offensive tackles in there.
Yep.
He wasn't at all. He wasn't under pressure the whole, he was at points, but actually the pressure rate was pretty low. It's just, he had his lowest ADOT of the year when he was not under pressure. If you just sort his game log of under pressure, no, he threw the ball 2.5 yards downfield or something like that when he wasn't under pressure. So let's go ahead and I want to show you 2 screenshots here. So this is the second one in the game. There's Tyreek Hill getting wide open for an easy touchdown that would have been about 16 yards out or something, or 20 yards out, I don't know. And Tua has already checked down, and there's really no pressure there. If he just waits another half second, he's got a touchdown, I think, to Tyreek Hill. Now, there was a holding on the play, so it wouldn't have counted. But he didn't make the throw to a guy who just beat Tyreek Hill against a linebacker, and you don't even wait for that play to develop. So Tua just got the ball out too quickly. Let's show the other one here. This is him against Stingley. He comes in, he goes back out, he leaves Stingley and the safety in the dust. Tyreek Hill is wide open, and Tua still has the ball and a clean pocket. And who does this pass go to? Why, it goes to Devon Achane, 2 yards away from him. So I think Tua played an awful game. Did not look, it's possible because Teron Armstead was out and his right tackle's been out, that he just didn't want to, he just didn't have confidence in it, maybe. He was also hobbling at one point in the game. Remember on that interception? So for whatever reason, he checks down a lot, but this was an extreme version of super safe Tua Tagovailoa, and he missed a couple of touchdown opportunities to Tyreek Hill. One of them would have been called back, but still, I thought this was an awful game for Tua. Usually it works okay because he throws over 40 times a game. Mm-hmm. But how about your thoughts for week 16 against the 49ers based on this performance?
Yeah. I'm not personally excited about it. I like that. This one's in Miami, correct?
Yes.
I like that we're going to get the weather for it that we need for passing, but no Waddle most likely in this game, I would assume. Left with a knee, didn't come back. Just take some explosiveness out of the offense. You just did a great job of showing that right now. I mean, from their time together, Tua and Tyreek are clearly on from having their worst rapport that we've seen in their career. I don't know what's going on there, so I'm not excited about it.
On throws of 10 or more air yards, Tua was 2 for 9 with a 33% off target rate and 3 interceptions.
Yeah, 2 for 9. At least you could count the interceptions. He was 5 for 9 on those throws. They were caught. He just, you know what? I always say this, right? You don't want to judge somebody at his absolute worst. This was the worst game Tua had played maybe all year, certainly recently. He was so bad in this game. He's capable of doing better than this. So if I had asked you, Tua, what's with me today? Tua Tagovailoa against the Niners or Kyler Murray against the Panthers next week?
Very easy for me.
Help me understand why Mike McDaniel keeps calling empty sets where all the guys just run a hitch.
I don't know. I feel like every time,
is there a football thing I'm missing here?
I'll tell you. So here's what it is. If that's the case, and we've seen this, I've seen this so much in my fandom as a Giant. Jason Garrett got to this point. Even Brian Dable got to this point at one point. When that starts happening, it's mostly, in my mind at least, because the coach doesn't trust his offensive pass protection, and because of that, he wants to run spacing routes based on timing that are all hitches that break back to the quarterbacks. You just get the ball out quick.
Yeah.
So I think he just doesn't trust his offensive line right now.